This is the second introductory lecture to our study of anatomy and physiology. So when we talk about the way that the body is organized specifically, we generally group the body into two parts. So let's say, oops, that was not what I meant to do. Let's say that the body is shaped like this. I know that looks like a gingerbread man, but we're going to fake it for a minute. So if this is the human body, then the axial portion of the body is all of this: the head, neck, and trunk. Trunk is like the chest and abdomen region. That's the axial portion. The appendicular portion is everything that is kind of sticking out from the main part of the body. So the arms and the legs. In this picture, blue, and then the axial is red. Most of what we will study this year is going to be found in the axial portion of the body. We are going to talk about the cranial cavity, which is where the brain is. We will talk a little bit about the oral, nasal, and orbital and middle ear cavities, all when we study the senses. We're not going to talk all that much about the vertebral cavity, which is the spinal cord or the backbone of the body, but we will a little bit. We will talk about the thoracic cavity when we study the heart and vessels of the body, because that's where the heart is found. So the thoracic cavity is sort of what you would think of probably as the chest region of the body. And then we will study the abdominal cavity, which is, let me find a new color here, which is going to be kind of this region of the body. That's the abdominal cavity. And then just below that, we have the pelvic cavity. So you can see that all of those parts are still contained within the axial portion of the human body, but they all also have kind of their own distinct areas. And then in a little bit less detail, we will study the bones and muscles that are found in the appendicular portion. So we'll pretend those are bones and knees, and then bones of the arms and hands as well. One of the big challenges with the study of anatomy and physiology is learning a whole bunch of new terms. You already know lots of terms for your body. You know hands and feet and face and butt and hips and knees and all of those things. But there are a whole bunch of terms that refer to the location of things in the body or where parts are when compared to other parts. So we learn a very specific set of terminology called medical anatomy terminology. And let me show you a picture to give you some information about what I mean. These are some of the terms that you will often see in reference to the human body. Most of these terms are kind of grouped in pairs because they act as opposites to one another. So, for example, our first terms are superior, which means toward the head, and inferior, or toward the feet. Those two are opposites of one another, right? So we often hear them kind of used together. The next pair of terms is anterior, which means toward the front or toward the belly, and posterior, or toward the back. On some activities that we will do, you'll see a second set of terms, ventral or dorsal. These terms usually refer more to animals, but they can be used for humans as well. Anterior and ventral are the same. Posterior and dorsal are the same. Our next set of terms is going to be medial and lateral. Medial means toward the middle, right? So if this is the human body, toward the middle, like your belly button, would be medial. Lateral means toward the sides. So for those of you who play football or watch football, like a lateral pass means a pass toward the side of the field. The lateral part of the body is a part toward the side. The next three terms all kind of go together because they describe different kinds of sides. So bilateral means on both sides, like your eyes. There is one on each side of the body. Bi means two. Bicycle means two wheels. Bilateral means two-sided. Ipsilateral means things that happen to be on the same side of the body. So let's say we have our gingerbread man here again. So ipsilateral refers to things that are on the same side of the body. So that could be, for example, this arm and this leg. They are on the same side of the body. Contralateral, contra means against or opposite. Contralateral refers to two structures that are on opposite sides of the body. So like the right and left arm, for example. Our next pair of terms are proximal and distal. So proximal means closer to the core of the body. So for example, the belly button is proximal, where the toes are distal. Distal, you can think of like distant from the center of the body, and proximal means in proximity to or near to the center of the body. Our final two sets of terms are superficial and deep. So superficial, if you call somebody superficial, that means they are shallow, for example, or they only look at the surface. That's what the word means. Superficial means on the surface or shallow. Deep means internal or more inside the body, not on the surface. So then our final set of terms is if you were to divide the body physically, to split the body into parts, how could you do it? There's quite a few different ways that a body can be divided. So again, let's make our little gingerbread man. So if we wanted to divide our gingerbread man into two parts, we could divide him like this, which would give us a left and a right half of the body. This is called a sagittal or median view, right? We have one half on the left, one half on the right, and the cut goes straight down the middle. If we were to cut him over here, we would still have two halves, right? We would have a tiny little half right here and then a really big half right there. That would be called a parasagittal. So it's still a line that goes from the head to the feet, and it separates into a right half and a left half. It's just not an equal right and left half. So if we erase all of that, we can talk about our next one. So let's make our little gingerbread man again. He's getting a little bit more like a starfish, but we're going to pretend it's okay. So if we wanted to divide our gingerbread man into a top half and a bottom half, we could cut him just like this. That would be a transverse cut. So we would get a top half and a bottom half of the human, but still we would have a half. Our final cut, let me just put him back together again. There we go. Our final cut would be a cut, actually, that's going to be kind of difficult to use, so let me erase him and make him in a different way. Our final cut would be to separate our guy. So let's say there's our guy's butt, or maybe we'll make this a woman, so there's a chest. Okay. If we wanted to divide this woman into a front half and a back half, we could do a cut just like that. So if she were to break into two pieces, we would have a front or an anterior portion, a belly side, and we would have a back or a posterior portion, but there would still be two halves. So that concludes our look at some of the terminology that we will be working with this year in anatomy. What I would like you to do for your summary is to draw yourself a human that looks maybe something like this, not with all the muscle and the detail, but have a human facing forward and a human facing backward. And I would like you to label it with as many of the terms as I just used as possible. So try to figure out a way to label this person with all of those terms. If you label him on the back side, you don't have to also label him with the same term on the front side. You can do it in one place or the other. And then remember also to bring in at least 2 questions. Write those questions in your questions column, and we will discuss them in class. Thank you.